Hey guys, how you doing? So yeah, thanks Maximilian. As Maximilian already said, my name is Fabian, and I just came back from South America, and what you see here is what was my office for the last 7 months. So in September last year, 2014, I went to Buenos Aires and bought this Land Rover Defender from 1997 and met up with my two travel partners. That's Dominic and Vin. Dominic is also my business partner, and Vin we just met kind of some weeks before, and I just said, hey, you want to come on this trip? And he said yes. He has no idea of tech, and at the end of the trip he told me, you made me put people on CC, and I had no idea what CC is. But now he knows. Oh, I have to click here too. And by the way, there's a live part which I can't do because we don't have this long cable, but I just talk about it then. So by crossing South America, I mean that we went through Uruguay, Argentina, Chile, Peru, and Ecuador, and Colombia, and after 18,500 kilometers, we finally ended up there at the North Caribbean coast, where we shipped the car back to Hamburg, and then tomorrow I'm going to pick it up actually in Hamburg. Now, on top of managing our company from within this rolling office, we've also been producing a web series called Startup Diaries, and this web series shows our challenges as being a nomad company, but more importantly, it's about how we meet other people who also redefine work in one way or another. And through the whole adventure, we explored the future of work, which is a topic that we're all really fascinated with. So I'm going to talk about 3 things basically, which is how to work more efficiently using the right tools while being on the road and using the right tools in the right way, and also how to redefine how you think about work, and how travel can inspire creative problem solving. Now first, let's look at the situation back here in Berlin. So I worked at Zendesk before, but left Zendesk 2 years ago, and then established my own company called Helpando as a service provider for cloud-based customer service tools. Right? And then my clients are mainly in the US and in the UK, and the company was very healthy when we started the trip, and with a steady growth rate, and we had some really nice clients, as you can see here. So the whole thing went great from the beginning. Now experimenting and taking your company into a Land Rover Defender and crossing South America is, to most of the people, not the wisest business decision you can take, right? You have to be slightly out of your mind, but I definitely am. And we took this big risk, and I don't know why, it might be just to the Wanderlust, or just imagining this horrible Berlin winters that we probably all now know. But at the end, we did it. So that was the situation in Berlin. Now in South America, the whole thing was slightly different. We still had to do all our operational work, and we were working in Berlin 7 to 10 hours a day. But on top of that, we now had to do startup diaries, which meant finding people to interview, contacting them, scheduling interviews, filming, video editing, storytelling, publishing, and all the social media work. And we had no idea how to do all of that, so it was a very steep learning curve. We also had to cross 6 countries and travel 18,500 kilometers, and we had to deal with about 25 car breakdowns. One of them is here. Now our business infrastructure was just gone from one day to another, right? No more Wi-Fi, no more desks, no more anything. And on top of that, we've driven up volcanoes and through deserts, we slept at beaches, we jumped into waterfalls and partied in places we don't really remember. We've given a TED Talk in Colombia, we've been on 6 radio stations and 4 TV shows, and did 30 data migrations and 13 help center designs and all these Zendesk implementations and all. We had 250 calls in total. Now this whole thing has been an absolute success for us, but I can only say that now, because at times this was just, especially in the beginning, a nerve-wracking experience. It was just coming there, nothing from the business infrastructure left, and then it hit us in the face. Oh, we have to do videos and filming and editing. We had no idea how to do that. So there was a lot of challenges that we faced, and I would just like to share these challenges and how we found solutions for them. One thing, obviously, as a service provider for cloud-based tools, you have a constant need for internet. And in the last 10 years, I went to Chile for about 4 times. And each time I came there, like every 3 years, I noticed that the internet situation drastically improved every time I got there. not only is the Wi-Fi situation better, like in hostels, co-working places, and coffee places, it's also the connectivity on your cell phone that is majorly improved. The network coverage, you have internet now in Patagonia and wherever, and the speed, you buy a SIM card for $5, or sometimes it's even only $2, and then you charge a gigabyte or 2 gigabyte on your phone for another $5 to $10. And just one anecdote, how great this worked. I was in a bus from Santiago de Chile to Viña del Mar, which is a 2-hour ride, and I got a notification on my phone saying, hey, you have a meeting in 15 minutes. It's this Google Calendar notification, right? And I said, shit, I have no internet. But I had a 3G connection on my $5 prepaid SIM card, and I was able to tether the connection, use my MacBook to do a Skype call in a moving bus with the client, and there were no major delays. It just worked. So I would say 75% of the time we had internet in one way or another. And this is a typical situation. You see, this is the back of a cab, the laptop here. You see the blue bar, which means it's connected as a hotspot with your phone. And there's one particular thing to our business which is not possible with SIM cards or with Wi-Fi, which is doing data migrations. Because there, you read 50 gigabytes of data from one API and then you write it to another system. It's a lot of volume, and you can't do that with hostel Wi-Fi, so with your phone connection. And what we did, we had a server in Chicago, which has a huge bandwidth and a lot of hard drive capacity, and we would then just use our phone's connection to log into the server and remote control it, and doing all these high data volume operations with the server. And this even worked with edge internet, the E sign there, you have E, 3G, and LTE. So we would literally do data migrations with hundreds of gigabytes from the desert. And it was just really fun sometimes. Now, connected to the connectivity is also the non-connectivity, the offline phases, right? And I have a friend who traveled through Africa 4 years with the Land Rover Defender. And once I was stranded at the side of the street and couldn't figure it out, so I sent him a Facebook message, hey, there's all this water squirting out, and any idea what I can do? And he tried to help me, but it didn't work out. And at the end he said, dude, just don't forget the interruptions are the way. And I thought, what does that mean? And now I know it, right? It's when you're stranded at the street, not only really cool things happening of people trying to help you, it's also that you start to appreciate the offline moments. And also that's related to work. So when you'll be in the desert, you download your emails before, and then you respond them in the car, and you have so much time that you write better emails. So you respond not only the question of the client, you also point out alternatives, and then you can avoid a lot of back and forth with the client by writing better emails and pointing out different options. Also code quality, we have a big repository of scripts for data migrations, and when I'm here in the office, I would just get the job done as fast as possible to get the desired outcome. But if you have all the time of the world in the desert, you really look at your code and you read more readable and reusable code, so that code repository majorly improved. And there's so many offline tools, or the Google Docs tools you can use offline and sync later when you have internet again. Now, the biggest issue was the work overload, right? We were working 7 to 10 hours in Berlin. Now we had maybe 2 or 3 hours in South America to run the company, because there was so much other things to do. And I tried to analyze where did all these hours go, and I think 1 hour I just wasted by sitting in the office in Berlin and thinking, oh, it's 1 p.m. The normal people work until 6, so I better sit around and do nothing, or invent some work that I don't really have to do, because you just have to kill the time somehow, no? And then 2 hours were just lost because I wasn't 100% focused. So the time pressure, when you only have 2 hours of internet, and if you don't do this data migration now, then shit hits the fan. You just have this pressure, and it forces you to be super efficient, and then you don't go to Facebook because you just have no time for it. So that explains 3 hours. Now, the other 2 hours I really think were saved because of using tools in the right way, especially shortcuts and Alfred app. I love Alfred app. And I come back to this in the next slide. But also remote working is about building remote teams. And we have 3 guys in Romania, and someone in Canada, and someone in Spain who sometimes helped us. We didn't delegate too much work, but when we could, we did it. Now, the next thing here is about tools. And I had some live examples, but because we don't have this cable, I can't do it, so I'll just talk about it. Just do a little mind exercise with me. Think about not having Command C, Command V, and how terrible that would be. Like, especially for developers or coders, if you can't copy and paste, you lose a lot of time. Now, with all these tools I'm talking about now, I would lose the same amount of time as if somebody would take away, copy, and paste. Now, one thing is, imagine that a client wants to have a call with you. Usually the conversation is, hey, Fabian, I need a call. And I'm then, hey, are you PST or EST or GMT -2 or whatnot? And then he's like, PST. So I would have to look at my calendar and figure out when I have an available slot and do all these calculations in my head. I use some tool for it. But at the end, you have like 4 emails of back and forth, and then you have to create an invite, and it's a lot of headache and kind of takes away a lot of time. Now, there's a tool called Calendly, and there's many other tools, right, where you just send a link to the client, and then the client sees your availabilities and in his or her time zone, and then they would choose a free slot, and it automatically goes to your Google Calendar. Nobody else can book a meeting at the same slot, right? And then if we would plan to drive from Chile to Peru, we knew that's 4 days, so we would just block those 4 days with a huge rectangle in the Google Calendar, so nobody could book meetings there, and the clients were forced to use the 5th day. So we would have 1 day where we kind of, in a batching kind of work flow, do like 10 calls. And this is that was really helpful. Now, Alfred app, I unfortunately can't show it, but Alfred app is a quick launcher. So it's like Spotlight when you hit Command Space and you have this little search bar. Now, with Alfred app, you can have shortcuts. So let's say you get a couch surfer. Just one example. And the couch surfer is asking for the direction. Now, you could either type it, which would be the worst way, or you could go to Evernote and copy and paste your direction and then paste it in couch surfing. Or you could use a shortcut. So I have a shortcut. I just do Command Space, little search box open, and I do DIR. And then it's my direction. And it just shows, yeah, if you're coming from Schönefeld, take this train. If you're coming from Tegel, whatever, done. Now also, imagine you have a particular task which needs that you open 4 particular tabs in your Chrome or Firefox or wherever, or opens the terminal window and does that, or opens Word. You know, you have some tasks which need a certain set of tools open. With Alfred app, you can define a shortcut. You hit 1 key, and these 4 particular things open, and you save all the time. Also, do you know the situation when you copy and paste something, and then you want to paste something, but not the last thing you copied, but maybe 2 times before you copied it? With Alfred app, you just hit a button and you see the history of the stuff that you copied before. And it just sounds like little things, right? But if you sum this up, it maybe saves you an hour per day, but at the end, it's not only the time you save, it's like you're in a task and you focus in a particular task. Now, it's a major difference if you have to invest 20 seconds to do something on the side, some brickwork, or if it's 2 seconds, because it doesn't take your focus away from the main task. But to be honest, if you really ask me why we do this, it's just this crazy shit happening on the road. This is a real situation. We had a go-live call with an online casino in Las Vegas. Oh, you can't see it because it's black, but this is a cyber coffee, and there's 8-year-old kids sitting in the back. We were stuck in the desert, and we used this mechanical device, the wind, to pull us out. And then we were racing against the time to make it for this go-live call. This guy's paid us $18,000 for a long project with like a Zendesk implementation and data migrations. And we hadn't had a shower for 3 days, and we just came into the cyber cafe with all these kids playing Counter-Strike and listening to loud reggaeton music. And then it went great. And it's these moments where you see yourself like from the moon, and you're like, all right, I'm sitting here in this village in Peru in the desert, and I just had this call and it went great. And I'm looking that way because outside there was chicken running along. And on the other side, when you zoom out, there's these people in Las Vegas in a skyscraper with, you know, business suits on and this table microphone in the middle. I never know why I'm thinking about the table microphone, but that's how I imagine it. And it just worked, you know, and this is just awesome. So to wrap things up, with Startup Diaries, we set out to meet people who redefine work, and by that we redefine work ourselves. Our model was always get it done, but it never looked the same, but it never also looked like 9 to 5. Our company is as good as before, if not better, you know, and the best things that happen when you can be honest with the client. So if it's like cool startups, we would like, if they were happy, the next day we would like, do you actually know that we did your data migration from the desert in a rolling office? And they're like, oh my God. And then the next day they would post it on Facebook, and this is great. So also, traveling helps you pick up these new skills, the adaptability, the creative problem solving, the out-of-the-box thinking. You're in situations you were never before, so you have to find solutions, and nobody tells you how to do it. So you kind of trigger the brain areas that help out-of-the-box thinking. And all of this is what I think is kind of the future of where work is heading. And there's great examples out there. Just look at WordPress, right? Matt Mullenweg was 19 when he programmed WordPress. Now it's powering 25% of the internet. They have 300 employees, but only one office, which fits like 20 people. Everyone else is around the globe. They have no meetings, they have no emails, and all their communication channel is chat. They even do job interviews by chat. And this is the future that we set out to explore, And the technology to build a company, however you want it to look like, is there. And there's no right or wrong ways to do it. But maybe people can start thinking about integrating this traveling mindset into a company. And if you can't travel yourself, it's still thinking about how can you inject the mindset. Now, how will you infuse into your organization the out-of-the-box thinking, the exploration, and all that? These are all ideas that we had as a company to innovate upon in South America. And if you can't do it yourself, I hope at least might inspire innovation in how you currently work and think about work. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Fabian. Now we're going to have 5 minutes of Q&A, so we can keep that on.
All right.
Actually. So if you guys have questions for Fabian, fire away.
Can you write down the tool for the shortcut? I didn't find it.
For Mac, it's called Alfred App. Alfred App.
Alpha,
Yeah, Alfred App. ALFREDAPP. Yeah, it's an app which is for free, but then if you want to have the power version, it's like $19 or maybe $15. It's definitely worth it. Yep.
I'm wondering if your work habits have changed now since you're
Totally changed because of all these.
any recommendations for us?
So the first question is absolutely yes, because in 2 hours we had to do what we previously did in 7, right? And I think one key point is like really being here in Berlin and thinking, yeah, it's not 5, so I can't stop working, right? And then in South America there was just so much better things to do than working, and that we had to do. So I'm trying. It's a challenge for me now to apply this here too, because you might be sucked into the workflow that we had before, no? But I think sometimes it's just batching and forcing yourself, and things like the Pomodoro technique. Like, let's say you have 15 start emails and you have to respond them. You could do it in 2 hours, but you can also just force yourself to do it in 30 in one period of Pomodoro, no? And then you put on a headphone and monotonic Berghain music or whatever, and you just write it through, and you send it after 30 seconds, no matter what. It doesn't really make a difference how long the email is. If the key points are in there, it somehow works, no? Yeah. I don't know if there's any other tips. Yeah. Any more questions?
What's monotonic Berghain music?
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, well, Berghain is this club here in Berlin, and they have this electronic music. So if you put this on your headphone, this kind of closed headphones, you don't hear anything. So in South America, it's always key. If you're in a hostel or somewhere where there's less trucks passing along, it kind of takes your focus away. So I always use these big headphones to just totally zoom out. And it wouldn't matter if somebody would be there and screaming. I would just still be focused. So monotonic electro music. Something without lyrics, because the lyrics can influence you. Yeah. Yeah.
So you can do this because you own the company, but if one of your employees said, I'd like to go to South America and it would make me more efficient and I can do stuff in 2 hours that I can do in the office for 8 hours, would you go, yeah, sure, I completely believe it, or would you be a little bit like...
If I had an employee and he would ask me this question, or she, I would say yes. I think it's great. Now, happier people work better. So if they want to travel to South America, then why not? Yeah.
I'm really interested in what you said about data connectivity and being able to migrate your data over Edge, because I've done some traveling in like Laos and Myanmar while trying to run my company,
Right.
and I just have no data. How did you maintain that connectivity, like, and over edge? How do you?
Okay, so the situation is, yeah?
Repeat the question.
Yeah,
Both
so
microphones.
the question is, how can you, the question is, what can you do if you have like really slow internet, but you still have to perform high data volume operations, I would think. Now the situation with us is we do data migrations. That means we have to read 50 gigabytes from one place and then write it to another. You can't do that with your phone, you can't do it with a hostel Wi-Fi, but you can have a server in the US or somewhere where there's good internet connection, and then you can remote control the server. But the commands you send to the server, they need nothing. They need like some kilobytes or less even. It's only read data, and then the server does all the work. And because the server has a huge bandwidth, it's no problem. Does it answer the question?
Yeah, but if you only have edge,
Yeah.
and you need to make a Skype call, like,
Then you can't. You can't do a Skype call with Edge, but you can still log onto the server and remote control it.
Got it. Okay.
Though there is a really nice thing that we used in emergency cases. When you have a phone connection, you can still, Blue Jeans, for example, is something like GoToMeeting or what, there's many, and you can use your phone connection to call a local number, so you don't waste too much money because it's a local number, and then you can start the conference, then other people can join the conference, and then you talk while you're in the desert, when you not have internet, but you have a phone connection. Yeah. Any more questions?
Any major disasters during the
For some weird reason, no. Like nothing happened. We had no accident. We didn't even scratch something with the car. We weren't robbed. There was no violent act. I have a big scar here now because I fell into a hole, but that's it. Nothing. Just.
And how often did you hear about the fact that you are in such a remote location with, for example, the clients you had on Skype?
So one thing is that has to be understood is that we not really actively, so the question is how honest have we been with clients about what we're doing and where we are. One thing that is that most of our clients are being forwarded to us by other companies, for example Zendesk or competitors of Zendesk, so they kind of trust us already. We don't have to do so much of the acquisition. Then it depends on the client. If it was a cool startup, then we would be very open about it and we would tell them if somehow in the small talk it came along to mention this topic. And most of the times also with this online casino in Las Vegas, after everything was done and they were happy, we would actually tell them. And then we're like, oh my God, and somebody just pasted it on, they put our project on Facebook and was like, do you realize these guys just did everything from the desert? And yeah, but we were pretty open about it and it wasn't really a problem, but I would usually wait until everything went well.
One last question.
How did you manage power supply or power shortcuts with the track?
Yeah, there is, if you look at, the resolution is really bad here, but this thing that's the flexible roof, on the side which is pointing to the sea, it has 2 solar panels. And then this is feeding 2 batteries which are below the driver's seat. And then there's a EU plug, which we had a multi-adapter for. And we had 3 MacBooks, 3 iPhones, and maybe 1 iPod, which we could charge all the time. And there was a fridge which was on 24/7, but because of all the sun, and the solar panels were this, and 2 of them, it was enough power for all the time. All right, thanks.